kids go home and ask their parents if they remember this method. Ask your parents if they remember the FOIL method. And I guarantee they're like, oh, yes, because it's just ingrained in our brain. And it's just we had to do it over and over. So we'll get to that here in a second. But what we're doing now is we're multiplying binomials and trinomials. Again, that's 2 terms and 3 terms. Remember? So that's 2 terms and 3 terms. The whole thing as I did in lesson 7.1, I think, was talking about terminology. So you can kind of understand, oh, okay, all we're doing is multiplying 2 terms and 3 terms. Now, last lesson, we used only 1 term, a monomial. Now we're going to do it with 2 terms. So there's a couple ways you can do this. So just remember our rule, though, the product rule of exponents, the a squared plus b squared, and if it's this a squared, x to the 8th a power times x to the b power, you would add the exponents, okay? So here's what we do. Now we're going to have a binomial times a binomial. So we can do a couple things. One method is called the FOIL method. This is the one that you can definitely talk to your parents about, and they're like, oh yeah. So FOIL, F stands for first, O stands for outer, I stands for inner, and L stands for last. So it's FOIL, the FOIL method, which all that means, all that is that you're distributing the property, you're using the distributive property twice. So what we're doing is if we have A plus B times C plus D, is you're taking A times C and A times D, then B times C and B times D. And I know you're like, what the heck? But what's happening here is just double distributive. That's all you're doing, and that's what the FOIL method is. So what we're doing is doing the first. So you're taking x times, you're really doing this. You're taking x times x to the 4th plus 2 times x to the 4th. So what you're doing is you're taking x times x to the 4th, x plus 4, plus 2 times x plus 4. That's all you're doing is double distributive. So you're doing x squared plus 4x plus 2x plus 8. Then don't leave it like that. You have to combine like terms. So x squared plus 6x plus 8. Done. Okay? So what you're doing is you're doing x squared, x times 4, then the 2x, that's your inner, and then your last. So the FOIL comes from first, outer, inner, last. So it's really double distributive. And if you want to do it like this, go right ahead. So this is saying 2x times x. So it's saying 2x times x minus 5 plus 1 times x minus 5. Notice these are the exact same because they're right there. So it's 2x plus 1. You're just splitting that. And then, so the FOIL method, so you're doing the first, 2x squared. The outer, 2x times negative 5 is a negative 10x. The inner, plus 1x. And then 1 times a negative 5 is a negative 5. Always combine like terms. Most of the time, not always, but most of the time it's the middle 2 terms that are going to be the same. Same variable and same exponent. Not necessarily always. 9x minus 5. Okay, so always combine. Make sure it's in standard form when you're finished. Another way is the box method. And I talked about this last video about the Punnett squares that you maybe are doing in science. If not, you'll see those soon. To where you have a 2 by 2. So you're going to make a 2 by 2 square. So you're going to have a total of 4 squares. And you're going to have AC, whatever's here. Multiply those. AD, multiply those. BC, and BD. So this is just another way. I don't care which method you use. It doesn't really matter. So I don't care if you use the FOIL, if you use double distributive, if you use the box method. It's totally up to you. Now this is a 2-digit or a binomial times a binomial. So that means I'm going to need a total of 4 squares. Now you can do x. Now that's a positive 8. I always do plus 8. So make sure we know it's a positive 8. And then x plus 1. Now it doesn't matter. You can do x plus 1 here and then x plus 8 here. That doesn't matter. Now you're doing x times x. So it's x squared. 1x, 8x, and 8. So you're multiplying. Make sure you multiply. You're not add. Then you should have x squared then this diagonal should add together, plus 9x, and then plus 8. So I always like to do the positive here so I know that these are, if I don't write anything inside, I know they're positive. Okay, so here's another example. 4x minus 7 and x plus 3, another binomial times binomial. You can do it the box method. Because you are going to be writing work down. You're not going to do all this by head in your head. So make sure that when you're doing any work that you have to show me, that you're showing me your work. Don't tell me you did it in your head. You might have, but I wanted to see it. Now, be careful here. 4x minus 7. So you have 4x minus 7. Make sure you have that negative with it for sure. X plus 3. Now, you can leave that as a 3, but I like to go ahead and put plus so that I know that I'm doing a positive. Same thing, 4x squared. Now, you can do 4x times 3, which is 12x. This is a negative 7x, and this is a negative 21. So watch your signs. Put them in standard form, 4x squared. These combine, 12x minus 7x is a positive 5x, and then minus 21. So put the final answer in standard form, exponents going down from greatest to least. Okay. Again, this up here could be 4x minus 7. It doesn't matter where you put the first one, and it doesn't matter where you put the second one. But this is a 2 by 2, so you're going to have a 2 by 2 square making 4 total squares. So whichever method you want, but don't leave it like this. Make sure you write it out in standard form. Okay. All right. So you can find these 4. You're going to find the product. They're all binomials times binomials. Whichever method you want. You can do the FOIL, or you can do the box. Or you can do the double distributive, which is really the FOIL. However you want to do it. So, however you want to do it. So if you want to pause it, get your answer, then come back, you can. I'm going to probably do the FOIL method. Just that's what I grew up doing and ingrained in my brain. So I'm doing k squared plus 5k minus 4k minus 20. Okay. Don't forget to write it in standard form when you finish. Okay. X squared minus 2x plus 2x minus 4. 2 times a negative 2. Watch what happens here. These cancel, so this is just x squared minus 4. Okay. I should probably do the box method too. I'll do the box method on these two just to show you. So it's a 2 by 2, but you can do the FOIL method if you want. So 6a plus 2, 2a plus 3, 12a squared, 4a, 18a, and 6. Okay, so you have 12a squared plus 22a plus 6. Okay, so you might like the box method better. Whichever one you want to use is totally fine. Okay, now. Oh, that's kind of small. I don't know why I did that. 5x, 4y, and x minus y. So you got to be very careful. 5x squared. This is going to be 4xy. And then negative, when that's a negative y like that, you guys, that's going to make that a negative. That's a negative 1 there. Negative 5xy. And this is going to be a negative 4y squared. So it's going to be a little different. So we're going to have 5x squared minus xy minus 4y squared. So that one's a little challenging. But again, don't add the exponents together if they're not the same variable. And since it's x and a y, start with your x first, go down numerical order, and then your y's are probably going to go up, which is fine. Okay, now, here's what we're going to look at. I always give this problem, and I ask people to solve it. They're like, okay, or simplify it out. And this is what they do. They just do, okay, x squared plus 9, and they're done. Well, every time you do this, a puppy is sad. This is from the high school, and I don't know what they mean by that, but they're like, oh no, don't be a sad puppy. So think about what this means. When you have something squared, that means it's multiplied by itself. So this is what that means. X plus 3 squared means x plus 3 times x plus 3. Then simplify it. Notice what you see, what you notice. See what you notice. Okay, so when you simplify this, let's go ahead and do this. When you simplify that, you have x cubed plus 3x plus 3x plus 9. So you have x cubed plus 6x plus 9. Notice the difference. You're missing a middle term. So when you have something squared, you're going to, when it's addition for sure, you're going to have a middle term. Okay? When it's addition, you're going to have a middle term. Okay? And subtraction, actually. So just be careful. Don't just say, oh, that's what it is, because that's what a lot of people do. This is not x squared plus 64. Please, and I guarantee on a multiple choice test, that's always going to be one of the solutions, one of the answers to choose. But write it out. Do x plus 8 plus x plus 8. Now, when we do more of these, you might notice something. But you're going to do x squared first, outer, inner, last, or your box method, either one. X squared plus 16x plus 64. Once you start looking, you guys might see a pattern. I'm not going to tell you the pattern just yet, but you might start seeing a pattern between this and this. Look at x plus 3 squared and look at the numbers. Look at x plus 8 squared. Look at the numbers. I don't know. Hope you might be able to see it. If you do, write it out. Tell me. And tell me to look at your work and say, hey, I think I noticed the pattern. Okay, 2m minus 3. So 2m minus 3 squared. Write it out. So first, so you have 4m squared. Outer, negative 6m. Inner, negative 6m. Last, plus 9. So 4m squared. Negative 6m minus 6m, you're going further negative. And then plus 9. Okay. I don't know. Can you guys see a pattern in those? You may or may not. Okay, so let's look at this one. Again, pause your video, write it down, process it. Now, a binomial times a trinomial. A binomial and a trinomial. We can do the double distributive or the box method. Either one. So double distributive means you're doing x times, you're taking this, times everything here, x squared plus 3x minus 6. And then you're doing plus 4 times all that. That's all that's happening, is you're distributing that x to every term inside onto this other one. So x cubed plus 3x squared minus 6x plus 4x squared plus 12x minus 24. Then combine like terms. X cubed, there's no other x cubes. 3x squared, 3x squared, 4x squared, 7x squared. Negative 6x plus 12x plus 6x, and then minus 24. Standard form when you're done. Okay. Now the box method. The box method. This is a 2 by 3. So I'm going to do 2 here and then 3 this way, just because my paper longwise, and that's so not straight, but that's okay. So I'm going to do 2 across here, but I'm going to do 3 because I have 3 terms. So I have 3a plus 1. I have 5a squared plus 2a minus 6. I like to go ahead and do the symbols or the signs so I don't get it mixed up. Okay, now just multiply them. A cubed, 3a plus 2a is 6a squared, negative 18a, 5a squared, 2a. Since it's plus 1, it's like the exact same thing. Now, when you combine, diagonals should combine. So 15a squared, I'm going to do this, 15a cubed, 15a cubed. Then these should combine. Now, since I didn't have a sign, those are both positive. I probably should have put plus, but that's okay. So that's going to be a positive 11a squared. Then these diagonals, negative 18 minus, or negative 18a plus 2a is a negative 16a, and then negative 6. So again, it doesn't matter which method, but I should not see you go from here to here. I should see you distributing, combining like terms. Don't tell me, oh, I just did it in my head. I'm going to accuse you of using an app and doing, or Google. So you need to be showing me your work, either the box or this method. All right, find that each product, write the answer in standard form. So the